needs a miracle to survive this.
It's round 8 of the World Cheese Championship in Singapore, and one of these players needs a miracle to survive. Can he do it? With the white pieces, we've got the Chinese man Ding Liren kicking off with an English against the Indian in Singapore. What diversity. Now we see a Sicilian in reverse played on the board here. We get knight to c3, and these are the main moves for black. Does Gukesh do any of them? No. Sideline is played here, and he's threatening to shatter the pawn structure in some lines. So the knight now centralizes, hits the bishop. It also moves for a second time, usually a boo-boo, moving the same piece twice in the opening, but these are ninja top-level grandmothers. They're making it work. This second pony develops, the pawn's now defended, and we see Ding building the banana hammock. It's one of his favorite snacks, the old banana, and this one's now kicked away. It takes here. That was a bit of a passive bishop, but it could get good later on. So Ding picks up the bishop pair. Very nice. He's going to try and use that to his advantage. What's Gukesh got going for him? Well, he starts with a pawn push that makes Lord Hans Feingold wince, exposing the king a bit, but he wants to erect that big black centre, as we're going to see. Now we see castles played and bishop e6, just plugging some holes here, attacking the explosive pawn on c4, and after b3 covers, bam, we see d5 for the high five, taking control of the center. What do we call that pawn structure? Very unusual, bit of a boomerang. Now we see Ding go for a hyper fianchetto, misses the square here. Is it a mouse slip? We don't know, and that's a joke, of course. They're over the board in person. He's eyeballing the knight and the black king position, but we see castles played anyway. Why isn't the pawn munched here? Well, then you can just give it. So what? Yes, take a second one, but bang, you open the center of the board. This spells trouble. We won't click down all the lines here, but all the white pieces come flooding into the game. The king is under fire, sometimes the b7 pawn too. So we run it back, the pawn not touched. Instead, castles on the board. Now rook c1 comes to this important file, and a5. If in doubt, push a rook pawn, alpha 0 mode. The players actually called out the excellent Game Changers book as one of their favourite. It studies the alpha 0 games, written by a couple of strong players hailing from my old country, the UK, right? And now, after this pawn push, heading the knight into b4 in some lines, Ding could go d4, but doesn't, drops back, whispering anyone for a knight maneuver. Bit of a nerdy notation joke there. Now he's opened the eyes for the bishop, and there's a second point we're going to see. Gukesh plays the excellent prophylactic rook e8, coming off that long diagonal, and now a really aggressive move. Pawn to f4. Absolutely love it. He had the opportunity to do this in an earlier game, sharpen things up, declined it, steered it towards a draw. So I love to see this kind of chess finally flowing into the game, into the match. Pawn takes was played. Rook recaptures. A second pawn is munched. Gukesh is very hungry.
Mushrooms.
And after b recaptures, correct move, keeping an eye on the b5 expansion, we now see knight to g6, kicking back the rook, and the game gets crazy tactical. Retreating to f1 looks the best square. Let's quickly show the line actually. But then the knight can centralize, pawns under fire, defended naturally, but bang. This queen centralizes, and after the king goes, you've got all this kind of nastiness on the dark squares. It's not what you want, which is why rook e4 is played. Keeps an eye on the d4 square, pressures down the e file. You can run into f5, f4, quick break, but the rook can do this with some tempo. Then you deal with the pawn push. Different game, right? Knight a6 was instead selected. Good order of the day, just get your bits out. Now we see knight c2 re-entering the game via d4. The queen goes to c7, connecting the rooks and anticipating this hop. Now when the bishop drops back, if these get exchanged, well, the second rook can enter the game. So Ding starts with d3. Lovely light squared grip going on here. This knight centralizes. Very natural move, and queen d2, the best move of Stockzilla, but not played. Ding nudges back. It's a bit of a theme of the match. He's going for safe moves here. Sometimes forgets which way his pieces are moving, trying to exchange, trying to steer towards a draw. Bit of a match strategy. And now bishop g6, top move apparently. But Gukesh now forgets which way his pieces are supposed to move. Retreats that one, keeping some pieces on the board, but not the rooks. This one finally exchanges all too happily. It was looking a bit clumsy in the center, and now we see a mistake from Ding. But it should be known, the 33rd piece has been at play all game. The clock already dings down quite a bit, and so he tries to speed up, blitzes this rook b1, looks so natural, clamping on this square, making b5 impossible. What is this? Gukesh goes and plays the move. Incredible stuff. Why does it work here? Well, after captures, you're not just winning a pawn. No. Gukesh whispers away as he flicks in the Zwischenzug. That's an in-between move, the German word for it, butchered in my pronunciation. And after king f1, best square, actually babysitting this pawn, now we see this recaptured. The queen supports it. Ding's made a tactical error. He should have retreated this bishop here instead of rook b1. Then upon the check on the king, he could have blocked with the bishop and then recaptured the pawn or whatever. Checking the king wouldn't have been good, but the mistake has been made. And so what does he do now? He's like, right, I've got to try and randomize things. The pawn's under fire. The Stockness monster wants to defend with a queen move. But Ding now plays bishop b2, given the question mark, as you can see, for reasons mentioned. The pawn drops, looks absolutely terminal with the passed a pawn, connected passed pawns, in fact. Wow, good luck fighting against this. But after bishop d4, this is where things get a bit weird.
Ding really needs a miracle to survive this.
Can Gukesh find the best move here? Got a couple problems to solve. If you go queen b8, well then there's rook a1, like this. Whoops, if I can click. Bishop retreats, and then the a pawn drops. If you go queen c7, the b pawn drops. So the queen can't move. It's glued to the protection of these pawns. Therefore, you need to intercept the attack. But which knight to go with? Gukesh makes a mistake, and not just one, but a triple whammy of mistakes. Turns the game on its head. He should play knight d to c5, but he blocks with this one. Looks so natural, bringing it back from the nasty edge of the board, but it's a mistake for reasons we're going to see. Because now after rook c1, pressuring it, well, it's not so easy to defend. Upon rook c8, now there's new ideas of bishop h3, and you're hitting one of the defenders of this, which is pinned to this. And when this knight was on a6, it covered the c7 square, so in some lines, the rook finds extra protection on that square. It's deep stuff. But now we see bishop b3 played. We're sticking with the game here. Again, a mistake, because you're actually kicking the queen onto a stronger diagonal, the dark square diagonal. Bishop h3 also on the way. Gukesh realizes he's messed up, so he picks up the same piece he just moved, moves it again into e6. Scared of the bishop h3 ideas that I mentioned, but now queen f2 comes, only move to keep this significant advantage now for white, which is creeping up to about a pawn. Complete 180 on the game. Incredible. And now rook c8 comes to defend the knight, and bishop e3. Excellent move, because it prepares d4. The rook's unprotected, so knight c7, or rook c7 rather. Very natural move, of course, but now there's a new problem, but Ding doesn't quite find the way to execute it. What should he do? Knight e1 once more. The reason it's so strong is you open the eyes of the bishop, but you don't block d4. So you're preparing d4. Once the knight moves, then d5 can come as well. Attack on the bishop and attack on the queen. There are so many tactical problems without clicking down all the lines. But it's missed. Knight d4 is selected. Excuse me. It's a good move here because you do attack the bishop, and after it retreats, you can land this excellent knight to c6, but it wasn't the absolute best, the absolute most filigree precision way to twist the knife. So this rook takes, of course, you have to do it. There was too much pressure on this knight. We now see the bishop take. Normally 2 minors for a rook is bad, but now we see this bishop smash through, and this is the point that when the smoke clears, white is an exchange ahead. These pawns now the only hope for Gukesh D. So he first goes h6 to give the king some Lufthansa. Now king e1 played, headed for d2 to defend this unprotected rook. And after b4, given the miss here, question mark as you can see, a4 preferred, but looking very unnatural to give the dark squared blockade. Ding now doesn't play in the precise way once more. It's back and forth here. Ding's no longer chilling. He even got given some ice cream yesterday. Lucky him. But right now he's in the throes of a complex battle. He plays queen d4, but king d2 best. Defend the rook. Then if black tries knight e5, you're able to take on b4. But he does this, and now knight e5 suddenly generates counterplay for Gukesh. And what happens next is insane, because after king d2, now defending the rook, we see queen g2, invasion, absolute pandemonium, because the knight's on the way here, about to win the queen. How do you get out the forking way? Well, this is what Ding goes for. Opting for the exchange of the ladies, trying to simplify the position, so Gukesh bounces back. What does Ding do? He gets on his old pogo stick. Queen back, queen back, queen back, queen back. He absolutely loves it. He's clearly been reading Giri's best-selling book far too much. This is the mindset he's in. But Gukesh, once again, what an absolute nutter, goes queen a2 check and declines the threefold repetition. Like he said earlier in the tournament, he just loves playing chess, right? But this is bold, because you are a rook down, let's not forget. And after the queen re-centralizes, again to e6, not offering an exchange, then there's check, king moves, and one of your passed pawns drops. And then this one's looking really under fire. What is Gukesh playing at? Is he about to crash and burn? This is his last hope, the b pawn. He kicks the rook. It retreats here, not here. You have to be really careful of some of the tactical stuff, as we're going to see. And now after queen d5, excellent centralizing move. Look at this Black Widow spider. There's a sneaky threat on the way, which is to go b2 and then go knight c4 check using the pin. You'd win a queen here, and of course once the rook's distracted after b2, no longer covers this square. These are the themes. So queen b4 not only covers c4 but also the b2 push, and now queen g2 again goes for the play, again goes for the randomizer, and Ding's like, I've had enough here. Goes for the absolute hay bailout with queen e4 check, forcing the queens off now, giving himself a pawn structure that only a mother could love. But this is the point, that now after b2 he's able to simplify with rook b1. I mean, he should have been significantly better, but he's allowed Gukesh this. Looks completely lost for black, but there's this saving grace. Hits the rook, pawn therefore drops, and this comes at the end of the line here. You go to fork Vegas, win the rook, draw is agreed, because after king captures, you find yourself in an endgame where yes, white's a pawn ahead, but it's doubled, mangled, and you're in the opposite colour bishops, so white's going to set up the blockade on the dark squares, black on the light squares. You can't break it down, even with the extra pawn. This is the final position. Incredible battle, so topsy-turvy. Hope you enjoyed. Have a look at the video on screen for some more epic chess, and I hope to see you again soon. Cheers.